13th Capital Planning Committee. Call the meeting to order at, let's check the Minnie Mouse watch, 5:35. All right, so tonight on the docket, we have a couple of items. We have we're going to discuss each of the capital planning requests. We're also going to hear from our interim town administrator, Jim Purcell. And hopefully we will be able to make decisions on the capital planning requests to go through. All right, do we want to open the meeting maybe with Jim? Talking a little bit about dollar amounts to spend or just overall?
Overall, Madam Chairman, for the record, I'm Jim Purcell. I'm the interim town administrator. This is the beginning of my second week of employment with the town. And in that period of time, knowing the date of the town meeting and posting of warrants and all the things that were required, we've had a great deal of focus on the revenue portion of the special and annual town meetings. It was the subject of a group meeting here 8 nights ago, and has continued with a series of either one-on-one meetings between myself and each member of the staff finance team. That would be the accountant, treasurer, collector, and principal assessor, and myself. We've had 2 group meetings and a number of individual meetings, and we have what I think is our last scheduled meeting for noon tomorrow. We are acutely aware of your timelines. It's 9 days to posting of the warrant. It's 7 days to the finance committee deliberations on I think the expense portion of the budgets. Once they get assurances from us as to the affordability of the requests, etc. I can tell you that on this day, as a result of the meetings that we've had, it appears as if we have sufficient resources for, among other things, funding the remaining capital requests. On my first day, the list was a bit longer. In fact, that meeting 8 nights ago here, John Shea, the business manager from the school department, knocked 3 or 4 of those requests off because CARES Act or some other means were able to fund those. We did invite the DPW superintendent to our finance team meeting today to explore, and vet certain warrant articles, including his capital things, but not in detail. We would the kind of detail that you would consider. We were talking about affordability. It's clear that in recent months, given the uncertainty of COVID's effect on the economy, particularly the state economy and state aid, that there was a very real fear that the state aid to cities and towns was going to crater for fiscal '22, and there might even be Article 9C of the Constitution, reversions in the current year budget. Remarkably, state collections have been robust. Remarkably, town of East Bridgewater collections during fiscal '21 have been robust so far. The state,
Which is always good news.
it is. But for tweaking, I think lowering some of your expectations on estimates of local receipts, I'm digressing a little bit, lowering those a little bit. You've got pretty good structure. In recent months, all the confusion and in the transition in my office and things like that, things kind of slipped a little bit. But I'm here to report that the $1.6 million that you parked into your general purpose stabilization fund you know, it was a wise move, I think, for a couple of reasons. Why not just leave it as free cash, you know, is a question. Well, free cash does have a way of vaporizing, you know, somehow. And the quantum vote requirement, you know, to vote free cash, you know, Madam Chairman, is only a majority, a simple majority vote. The stabilization account, the quantum vote requirement is 2/3. So it's, it doesn't make access to that money, you know, impossible. It just makes it a bit more difficult, you know, as it should be. So parking it there, I think was okay, you know, I do. We plan to put that $1.6 million into play. Because the skies have cleared, as I said, you know, collections have been good on two ends, the state end and locally in fiscal '21. There's no reason for us to believe that our local aid, our property tax collections, or our collections of estimated local receipts are going to decrease at all in the foreseeable future. In fact, you know, with the amount of building activity that's going on, not building starts, but that's going on, that's going to bolster things. And I am going to dial back, by the way, motor vehicle excise tax receipts just a bit for a couple of reasons. You've only got about a 3% margin between your estimates and your actual collections. Make it a little bit bigger. Make that margin a little bit wider. It's funny, 8 days ago I was suggesting you were probably doing the opposite. But and then there's this, in the collection of estimated local receipts. There is a global chip problem going on right now. And you know how the calculations of motor vehicles go, you know, in the assessment of those taxes. I'm not going to bump it up. I'm going to dial it back just a little bit. Now, that's like a $2 million nut, you know. I'm going to dial it back a little bit just in case, you know, the new cars at the high taxable value and stuff. I think there's going to be a pause in new car production, and they're shutting plants down. They're shutting production lines down now. Okay, but overall, your revenue forecast for local collections and state aid in fiscal '22 is really pretty good to me. Okay, there is we would propose, the finance team and myself propose to you and to the finance committee that if you choose to fund all of the capital requests that are on, I think, Article 3 of the warrant,
Yep.
That the funding source be that from that $1.6 million stabilization fund money that you parked back a few months ago, okay? And so I would say, you know, the way is clear for you to entertain those requests, knowing that if they're bona fide in your view, they're affordable. So I hope I didn't stray off the point at all, but I feel pretty good about your fiscal '23 prospects. We've got operating budget issues to address, and, you know, we'll get that, and, you know, we'll get there, and I'll address that in another forum next Tuesday night. But in capital terms, you know, resources for the list of capital items that I see, they're there. In the team that's been here a whole lot longer than the 6 days I have, feels pretty strongly the same way.
Okay. Great, thank you, and I think that's exactly what we need, is that if we deem appropriate for spending, that there is money to cover.
Yeah, I told that group, I'll shut up after this. I told that group that I want to address you in the FinCom in particular, in the first person plural, we, not I think, you know, we. So that is our considered opinion. Myself, the accountant, treasurer collector, and the assessor.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
That's great, good news.
Can I go?
Yes, you may.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so why don't we go down the list and find out where we're at and what we kind of think about each of the requests, and vote if we feel it's necessary. If we want to not table some, then why don't we just have a discussion about each of the items?
Can you, before we do that, I had a feeling the CARES Act was quite a bit more involved in funding some of these things. So which ones have been taken off?
Okay, so right now, we have the,
List the ones we're gonna talk about.
all right, so, exactly. So we're gonna talk about,
Okay, so we got a list of the ones that we're gonna
Vote on.
vote on.
yeah,
Potentially vote on.
Okay.
and then the ones we're gonna vote on,
And the rest have been taken off?
yes.
Okay.
Taken off or funded
Or
by CARES
funded
Act.
through different means.
Okay.
So for example, not for example, but the school came with 5 items, 4 of them have been taken off, and they're going to be funded with, I believe John Shea said, CARES Act money. What remains is a request that can't be funded with CARES Act money, and that's because the CARES Act money, Chromebooks, things like that, are all used, in remote learning, and that's what CARES Act money is for, that type of stuff, I believe. There's probably more to it, I just am not familiar, but the part that got left is the school computer labs, and those are hard computers that would be in, is it Mitchell?
They're replacing the computer
They're
labs at the
replacing
high school.
at the high
and
school, okay.
Recycling those computers to the Mitchell school that
Okay,
has
that's what it
outdated.
was,
Yep.
right. So they're going from the high school to the middle school, moving those computers and getting new ones at the high school. But those are like, they're not laptops, they're stand, so they're almost considered immovable versus, portable.
So, right.
So
does
that's
that-
the only thing that's left in the school.
Right. I mean, does it really meet the criteria of a capital request?
It's $109,000 for all of those in the lab itself. And then for the police department, their request is 2 cruisers. And the justification they're saying is they need to replace cruisers that are over 100,000 miles. And they did provide a list of expected cruiser replacement dates. And it looks like they have 2 a year. I think we also need to follow up to what you had alluded to earlier, is that out of the 2 that we're asking for, should 1 be paid out of the operating budget and 1 out of capital going forward?
This year, they don't have that budgeted,
Agreed.
and,
They haven't, or I don't believe.
Didn't they say they're gonna look into it next year?
Yeah,
I think that's what he said.
I'm okay with it this year. I just would like to see it addressed next year.
Agreed. And I think what they said, what Chief O'Brien said, is that they were gonna look to do that next year, put
Yep.
1 back in.
That's fine. Well, that was just an agreement we had had for many years, and I think it's been pretty successful. We've updated that fleet quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Quite a bit. Okay, so there's that, so. Then we have, excuse me, so that was the cruiser's computer lab. Then we have the DPW.
Yep. So we got the
So-
we got the roads.
So we have the central school sewer,
Yep.
that they are looking to do to hook up the
Yep.
central school sewer. Then the next thing is road repairs
Yep.
in the amount of $300,000. And that's just to keep up with, on track with their,
Yep.
what's it, a 20-year does he have or something,
Yep.
road repair, I think? And then the third request for the DPW is the front-end loader. And that would be a lease to own, similar to the sweeper last year.
Okay.
However, the sweeper they're gonna pay for out of, was it
Chapter
chapter
90.
90
Yep,
money,
so they get
right?
not chapter 90, but one of the things I mentioned to John in that about the loader is could that have been funded out of the water? And he said potentially yes. So could we approve that with some potential funding from
I
that
think we'd
source?
have to get more information on that before voting on that. That would be something, but that's definitely good, I guess. And that was more like of a lease to own.
Yep.
I think one of the things that we had talked about last meeting is that, and obviously I'm deferring to you guys. So if we do decide to approve this, the the front end loader, one of the things that John had mentioned is that he wants to continue to lease. But to me, why would you continue to lease if leasing costs like say $6,000 a month, right?
He-
And you do it for 4 months, so that's $24,000.
I believe
He was gonna rent.
Yeah,
Rent, I'm sorry,
He's
that's right,
renting the
yeah.
machine
It's the
for
same
snow.
principle though. So
Right.
you rent for $6,000 a month, right? And his thing is that because it's always in the salt, so then if he still does the rental, that will be in the salt and only, that it won't affect his new front end loader. However, if you look at the cost of this front end loader, it's $185,000. Leasing is you're spending $24,000 a year in leasing, or, I'm sorry, renting. That pays for itself in, say, 7 years, right? 6, 7 years, right? It pays for itself. But this is a 20-year useful life, right? He wrote. So if it's, excuse me, a 20-year useful life, then why wouldn't you put this in a rotation?
Can we talk to John about, like, he talked about maybe funding out of the water enterprise fund.
Yeah.
So why couldn't we talk about buying it instead of leasing it through the water fund?
Right, but do you understand what I'm saying, like the whole thing like of rental, why would you
Talking about the
need to do
value,
both?
talk
Yeah,
about-
We
Well,
was-
I heard it a little different. So he gets one for the winter for just renting, just for the snow. Okay, and what he's been doing with that is he's been putting that one in the bond for the salt.
yeah,
And then the old one is going out. So we're gonna keep the old one to be
In the
a
bond.
backup
Salt one?
machine and a salt machine.
okay, so I totally
So
misunderstood
the
that.
new one would allow the new one to get out in the field.
Okay.
Frontline machine.
And be the frontline machine.
Okay.
I would personally, would like to buy the machine, because it is something that it will have a useful life of probably more than 20 years.
Okay,
And the one we're using now is, what is it, gotta be 25 years old, correct? Yeah,
Okay.
so they do last a long time.
yeah,
Well, 25, so it goes through us, this we would just be buying it,
right,
this machine.
okay,
okay, but,
so,
I don't know if, we can find out about the water part of it, but
yeah, I mean, we can,
yeah, cause I don't know where last year they did that million,
right,
to do the water, the water towers, they did something to replace the water towers for $1 million something last year. So I don't know what they.
I did throw it at him, but he told me that, we could definitely look at going that avenue.
Maybe,
But
Okay.
again, we can vote on it and, if we need to vote on it tonight, and we can talk about
Yeah.
our funding source.
right,
through him.
definitely, I mean,
But
'cause
I
if we
agree
can
with buying
outright
it.
buy it.
I agree with buying it.
I
don't
do
know-
too. I
I don't know
mean-
how you guys feel, but,
Well, I was just concerned, I guess, and that's where I misunderstood the whole thing, is that I was just concerned that we were going to still lease, but why would we still lease if we're buying this
I was on
new
the
one?
same page as you. I thought that's what he said.
He said he was still gonna do the lease to put that one in the salt mines and put the new one out on the road.
And then have the
well,
other
no,
one.
he was gonna.
And then
so
he'd
the-
have three.
So what he's saying is the short-term rental one, the one just for the winter, he would ask to have the third machine.
really?
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
So that's what he was saying, but he
And
still
I
wants
was
to.
saying, no, use the old one.
But he rents that out of his operating budget, so that's up to him. So, you know what, I get it, I understand, I guess we'll have to,
Well, I guess what I'm saying is why, if you're renting for 6,000, why wouldn't you just buy two then?
well, because it's only 6,000, because it's 6,000 for only the 3 months of winter he's taking it,
No, it's 24,000,
4
it's
months.
6,000 a month,
4 months.
for 4 months.
yeah.
So it's
it'd be
$24,000.
$24,000 for
Well,
4
you know what,
months.
but we can talk about that one, but this is, he's asking for the new one,
Yeah,
which quite frankly, the town should have that kind of machine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree with that. I just was concerned that you were still gonna rent one, and what would the point be, because it would pay for itself in 7 years, but they're about a 20-year thing, so
Well,
why wouldn't
He can
you?
come back to us
Yeah,
for another one,
and like,
I guess.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, it just,
I get it, you're throwing money away,
Counterintuitive
but,
there.
you know, but he's done that out of his operating, so that's,
yeah.
I can relay that back. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just ask him about that. Maybe, like, to Chris's point, we ask him about, is there room in the water?
well, and only because of the point of, like, you know, what I understand that the money's available to the maximum, but, you know, in the past, we've actually sent money to the, you know, down the road to build the fund, to be ready for some of these bigger projects.
Right,
And the fund today it still has 5 years of payments in it because we haven't added any additional debt in the last year or this
right,
year.
last year or this year, right,
So we're healthy.
We are.
yeah. Right, and that's what I'm good, because my other question was, and I didn't get a chance to ask Jim, and I'm not sure if you know, Dan, is, how much did come off of debt service this year?
It wasn't a lot.
It wasn't, okay.
And the refinancing of they're refinancing the school
Schools and the
and
community center.
Sachem Center, but the term's going to escape me. That just goes back to the taxpayers. It doesn't come off because we did a debt exclusion for those.
Right,
So it goes back to the taxpayers.
right, so you won't see it until FY '22, basically. Actually, it'd be.
The taxpayers
Yeah, the
won't.
taxpayers will see that. No, I was just asking about the debt service, because originally.
There wasn't a ton. Melissa said
when
there
this,
wasn't a lot that came
You
off.
know, committee was formed, that's how they were using the money to pay for it, and what you could do
Right.
for capital is as
Well,
things
we
go
had
on.
some
I wasn't even
yeah.
thinking about the refinance part. I was thinking more along the lines of, you know, any bonding we had out there that came off.
It just, you know, a few years back, we had envisioned, you know, a few different things of maybe adding the police and fire in the same building.
Right,
And we, you know.
Well, I
we
think
all-
that's something that
and-
still
and-
needs to be
and we
considered.
And with the central school, quite frankly, because of COVID, we've kind of shelved the issue, but the issue hasn't gone away.
no,
So, you know, those are reasons why.
right.
it
Too
would-
big, large.
Yeah, we have some
Yeah,
big
I
things
mean, I
down the
think
road.
definitely it's something we need to think about with, you know, planning for these large,
Well, if we're prepared, we, you know, what, with the central school, we maybe don't have to go to the, you know, we could do it through capital and repair and stay
Yeah.
with it.
I mean, they had talked about the accelerated repair program through
MSBT,
MSBT, but I don't know where that stands with the
Yeah.
budget.
I think everything
Massachusetts
kinda-
School
yeah, I
Building
rem-
there,
yeah.
you were on that.
I remember that, but, you know, everything kind of went quiet for this
Right.
year, so I don't know where
Right,
everything
and I think
stands.
that's kind of where it is, so I guess, I guess the good thing is we get through this with
No, I
the
get it.
bonding. But then I think what we need to do is kind of relook at what are these big projects that we, as a town,
Right.
think we'll need, you know?
But,
Well,
yeah,
The other thing that came up, and I know it was part of Melissa's discussion with Standard & Poor's, was they want to see that 5-year capital plan by department.
Right, and it, also,
good
I,
thing for us, too.
Right.
yeah. Right, because as part of, and I believe, I don't know where it is, I've never been handed, there's new requirements for the capital planning committee. New, that you show a 5-year for the town, a 5-year plan for the town, and where you're at. I don't have that, I've been asking for that for a couple of years, just to, so I could put together and see where we are with everything that's hit the town meetings for the last 5 years. I think it's important to find out everything that we've budgeted for, dollar-wise, how much that's cost, and, I mean, usually we see it and they move the money back in, but also where we are in the projects, you know, what's been done, what hasn't been done. So that's something that will have to be worked on as well.
We can reach out to Jim now, that he's here, to get the information.
Yeah, and this was the first time I met him too, at the previous meeting, the personnel board. So, because I wasn't able to make the meet and greet. So,
We have to have these votes in for 9 days.
we do,
So
be-
we could vote these and then, on John's, if we need that information, and do it like a Zoom
exactly,
or
so
something.
that's what I
Finalize it.
would say,
Yeah.
is that, let's talk about each of them. I know we kind of just went and did a little round kind of thing, but let's take it one by one,
And then
vote on it, and if we have to table something, then we do. And maybe if we have to, we could do a quick Zoom or something to finalize it, if that's, something. Or if we feel that we
I
can
mean, yeah.
word it appropriately.
Well, I'm thinking because we're not bonding, we don't have to be as particular in the minutes.
Correct.
So we could, if we wanted to approve John's front end loader, we could say approved with, if available, primary source of
Yes.
financing, water enterprise fund,
Yep,
secondary.
that's what I was,
Yeah.
I was
There you
just
go.
saying,
like
is
it.
that if we put in words, caveats that we could do to follow up, at least we'd know where we are from a money standpoint, basically.
And just, because I know you're more involved in the town finance, okay, so if, out of the 1.6 million, we go and spend 1.2.
We're spending 1 point,
Well, let's just say, right,
okay,
right,
yeah.
and we have a hypothetical $400,000, all right?
Yeah.
And we push it into capital, right, it stays in capital, correct? Can't be touched
that
still?
400,000 stays where it is right now.
Okay, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
We only take the portion that we need
And
to
it
fund
rolls
these.
into capital
will-
and continues.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't roll into capital.
No, it's not in the capital, it's in the general stabilization right
Stays
now.
into the general
There'd have to
stabilization,
be a
which is.
motion to move it
Yeah.
with 2/3 vote
Yep.
to move it.
So we're not, so we're,
So it's not really firewalled, it could be,
It is firewalled better than being in free cash.
yes, it's not
Okay.
right. That's what
That's what
the,
Jim was talking about.
yep.
what is it, who is it, is it the lawyer that told us we should do that, or somebody told us that we should,
I was just
Put it
curious,
in-
'cause I was just seeing what protection it had, that's all.
yeah, I think it's pretty well protected in the sense that even between us and the finance committee to balance their budget, we're not spending that 1.6.
Gotcha.
So, whatever, and wherever it is, it will stay,
Good.
in case of,
Who knows what's coming?
we don't know. We don't know.
And the last one was the fiber optic.
The last one is the fiber optics that we should talk about.
All right, so we have 6.
So, yep, so there's 6. All right, so do we want to start with, the cruisers?
Sure.
All right.
I think it makes sense. It's part of his replacement project. He has 2 cruisers that really aren't reliable. He's increasing his fleet of police officers next year, so it's gonna be critical for him to have cars for them to be in. I would be in favor of it.
Okay. However, with that, I'd just like to say, go back to Chris's point, is that we did do the, 1 out of operating and 1 from capital, and I don't mind doing the 2 per year. However, it was like a 1-1-2, and I think is how you did it, was like 1 year, 1 year, and then that 3rd year was like 2, right? So I guess I would like to, just say that I think we would like the police department to look at funding out of their operating budget 1 cruiser per year.
I mean, I understand that the police are at a little bit of a disadvantage because they don't have any funding source like the ambulance fund or the water
Right.
fund. So again, I'm not trying to leave them short. It's just,
Definitely not.
But it was something that at one point that was in the budget and then it,
Right,
you know,
agreed.
obviously was used for something else or it needed for something else. But it would be a
I think it's
good
just something that
commitment
is a
for us to
reminder,
both,
right?
right?
I think you're right, and I agree that, in favor of, obviously, we need them, we're not trying to make them short, staffed or, shorthanded in cars, but certainly from a budgeting standpoint, trying to put that in. And I'm not sure what the plan is to get them more staff, I know they need more staff, so hopefully with the staff and cruiser, it can all fit. I guess that's.
But I am in favor of the 2 cruises this year.
So should we vote, make a motion and vote?
Motion?
Do we need a motion, right?
Yeah,
We do, yep.
So a motion to, accept the 2 cruisers,
Aye.
Request for the dollar amount.
for $115,921.18.
Second.
Okay, so. Okay, any further discussion on these? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So then let's go to, so this is for the DPW, so the central school sewer connection. And this is, connect the central school to the municipal sewer main, reducing regular maintenance and eventual replacement expense. And cost is $100,000 and a useful life of 50+ years. Okay, a motion?
Motion.
Same, okay, good,
Seconded.
okay. Any further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's talk about, so the front end loader. Okay, so the front end loader here, the request is $185,000 for a new front end loader with a useful life of 20 years. And as discussed previously, to replace a frontline piece of equipment that's used daily. And also to help out with a snow and ice program. And let's see. And it will reduce annual operating costs by eliminating a significant annual winter rental expense.
Right,
So we have that in writing, that he put here.
right, because he was gonna keep the old one to use for the ice and salt shed.
Yep, and then he said it will reduce his
Rental expense.
his snow and ice budget expense by 24,000, which I think we can all agree would be great.
Yep.
So, I think as long as he sticks to that, right?
Right.
So I mean, you all agree this is what it's saying, no rental? Okay,
Yep.
good. All right, so now, let's go back to where we just had this discussion. Is there anything we want to say? Dan, I believe your words.
So it was make a motion to approve the request with the primary source of funding from the Water Enterprise Fund, if not available, secondary source operating stabilization fund.
What's it called, the Water
I think it's the Water Enterprise.
Enterprise fund.
Enterprise Fund?
If not the full amount, there might be a portion too, maybe.
Yep,
A percentage, I mean.
Good point.
so secondary source of stabilization, right? Or portion of. So, motion to approve request with primary source or portion of Water Enterprise Fund or portion, yeah. If not, secondary source.
It'll be funded through capital.
Yep. Okay,
So that's our motion, right?
yep, so that's the motion.
So second.
So, all right, so that's Dan, and then Dave Foley, and I'm just gonna write, so it's $185,000 front end loader. Okay. All right, any further discussion? No? Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, and then the next one is the $300,000 roads. And this is our annual, there are 15 plus years life, and just ongoing annual maintenance program.
And he puts this with the chapter 90 funds.
Yes, and he combines it, yep, with the chapter 90 state aid on road. So, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
All right, do I hear a second? Any further discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's great, so that's- All right, so then we have, oh, school site.
So the computer lab and the
Yeah.
fiber.
So we have, why is it not? It only has 109,000, but it was more than that, I know, right? No, it wasn't, it was, no, it was 109, okay.
Yeah.
I just found
Yep.
it, sorry. All right. So this next request would be for the school.
109,000?
$109,005.
Yeah, they lowered it down, looks like it's for 58 computers now. I think it showed, it was like one.
Yeah, they were doing 70 before, but now
Yeah.
they lowered it to 58 computers.
So is the money request change, or?
Nope, this
No.
is, that was on like their original
Okay.
submissions that they passed in. Nope, the request is for $109,005. It is a 5-year useful life, and as Dan mentioned earlier, it is to go from the high school, move the computer lab that is currently in the high school to the Mitchell School, and to replace the high school ones. And there, it's a desktop, but they'll be able to do CAD, robotics, and screen printing. There, so. See, a minute. Okay. All right, so do I have a motion? Sorry,
Motion.
keep getting hung up on this thing.
Seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so then the last thing we have
Fiber.
is the fiber optic. It's a 10 to 15 year useful life, which seems low for the amount of money you're spending to do this. And what this will do is create a circle so that, to close the circle, so that if something happens here, it'll go the other way to get there. And this is for technology, network outages, infecting our town services. Okay, so. The amount of this request is for $239,334, spot 43. And that is for, like I said, a 10 to 15 year useful life.
Is that on there? I didn't have 15 years.
I wrote it in.
Okay.
It was blank. I asked him that night.
Okay.
That's why I wrote in 10 to 15 years. I talked to Ryan about it that night, so. So, do we want to have a motion or talk about this? Let's see, in the detailed description, he writes, "The purpose of this project is to build out a redundant fiber loop to all critical town departments as well as all public schools. Current all-town school buildings are connected by a direct fiber run, which is very susceptible to several different issues, weather, traffic accidents, etc. This project would provide our departments with a seconded data path on our network and greatly minimize the risk to extended outages due to the issues previously stated. So, when I did ask, I don't know if you remember, but I did ask if we could do it in phases, and he said yes. It was possible to do in phases, which he suggested the town internal cabling, the networking hardware for school, and the networking hardware for all town sites. And that would be approximately about half, it looks like.
My only concern with doing it in phases is that the cost of everything is going up so exponentially so fast, whether it be building materials, IT materials.
Everything in the pipeline.
It's crazy.
And I also, my other concern too about doing it is we actually know we have the money right now,
Right.
with the 1.6 that we moved in there. And not that we're doing it for the sake of it, but it seems like something from a, I guess, technology thing we need. However, I'm saying that, and I am not technological at all, other than I know how to use a laptop and computers and that kind of stuff. The infrastructure part of it, I really,
I mean, based on his explanation, it made sense to me with the use of it for public safety, the use of it for town hall employees working remotely and working from home. If there was an outage, they wouldn't be able to dial in.
right, this way they would be able to, the same for the schools, right? Because it is hooking the schools in
Right.
too. So,
Let's hope they're not gonna be remotely much longer.
Let's hope.
because they shouldn't be. Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know, it's a tough one.
I would just vote for the whole thing, phases, they
Okay.
would probably tell us that, oh, we put that up and we can't use that anymore.
Right.
We have
Yeah,
to
we've
tear
heard
it
that
down.
You're right,
before,
and
right.
right,
I would
so,
just get it done and be done with it.
I guess, okay, so let's,
But is it a done and be done with it? Is it gonna be wireless before you know it? Is it
No,
gonna be,
I mean, he only says 5 to 10 years, I think it's gonna go longer until they come up with something new,
he says 10 to 15,
a different
yeah.
technology, you know?
Right, because this is also what they did, I mean, just some of the work they have to do is, you know, put it onto the poles, take it off of the poles, like, all that kind of stuff, so, I don't know. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Second?
Second, no,
Okay.
sorry.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm gonna go with the eye.
You don't have to. I didn't in the last meeting.
You know what, I'm not technical, it's not my strength, so I'm gonna
Mine
with my
either.
compadres over here and hope they're smarter than I am.
And me too. Okay. Okay, so that I have. Okay, so it looks like that we've done all weekend.
What was the grand total?
So the grand total, I have that.
And then we take,
And
Is
what is-
1,049,260 spot 61. And if we take out the sweep, well, depend on the sweeper, right? Because that's a,
The
is that a
loader. The
rent to
lo-
own
the
or,
loader.
For the loader.
I'm sorry, front-end loader.
I think John has a big, $1 million water project. We
He
voted
does,
at
remember we
special
just
town
did that?
meeting.
Remember,
So that might be.
I don't think
that
he,
he might not have any money to do the water thing that we voted on, but we can ask him and find out.
yeah, there's two big projects, actually. You know why? Because I actually just saw, I filed it, but I just saw last year's. And I was like, oh, that's right, we did.
I think we got a pretty big reserve there, though.
But we also bonded it, the $1 million.
Okay.
So maybe there is money, and reach back out to John on that to see if either he can use some of it and pay some of it, or what have you. Because I know, you know, because it took them from July to They just signed it a month ago, a month and a half ago. They just signed the sweeper,
Okay.
because other people were still here. And they had signed it one night at, the meeting. So, okay. So I think that concludes our business. I think the next steps are for me, a couple of things. One, we need to get another person on the board. We do have an opening, so I don't know if you have anybody that you're working on. He said. So, and I believe Tim McLaughlin is gonna be the school committee rep. However, I don't know that, as, you know, they just got elected. It's just that I do know that he was CC'd, Rob Ruda had given his name and CC'd him, and I gave him all the updates. So I will, I'm gonna let the finance, well, you can let the finance committee know. I'm just gonna let Jim Purcell know, what we approved here, and the kind of motions. I'll type it up and send it in, just so that, you know, they know, because I wanna get that.
Do you want me to just
that we
include
kinda
it in the
need.
minutes when I do the
Yeah,
minutes
that would be
tonight?
great.
And Jim should be able to get us, because Brian was,
He
and
should, so
Brian
we'll
and
put that-
George both had a list
Yeah,
of what fell off of our capital that
They
we
do.
purchased.
right, and I know, they see it, you guys see it, because, you know, that's part of, Melissa's budget of what's there and when it falls off. So, I think we just need to kind of take a look at that. But I definitely, you're gonna put the motion in there, you wrote it down, so, right? Or do you want me to?
Which one?
The motion on the front end loader about
Yep.
trying to pay for it.
I got it.
Okay. So it was the open position, the new school committee person,
And
or
then we have to work on
liaison,
the 5-year plan.
and then gonna work
Get
on the
that list,
5-year
and then we
plan.
can work on that.
And then we can work, right, we can work on that, because what we may have to do to help us all out is, and obviously this isn't right away, but if we each take a department that would have a 5-year plan, so I'm not sure the assessors would, but maybe they have to, maybe we have a form that they have to fill out, you know, whatever, just to say, hey, you know, I don't have a 5-year plan, but, or maybe they do because they need a copier or something. You know, maybe it's,
We pretty much do, through most departments have
Yeah.
a pretty
I think they do.
closely
Okay.
have a plan already in place.
yeah, which hopefully they all do, because I know that it was that you guys asked for it before. So if we can just kind of get everyone's updated, I can kind of join it all together and make one large workbook, you know, by department, and then sum it up to the front, so that we can maybe have that as a working document next year. And it may give us a lot of information about what's coming up, to maybe talk about big projects like the, maybe combined police and fire, but also we could see, you know, are you gonna need 2 cruises this year, or, you know, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So just so we can plan maybe for the bigger items.
Mhm.
Kind of think about that. So, that's really all I have. Do you guys have anything you wanted to talk about? All right, I'll entertain a motion
Motion.
to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.